Hi guys, I'm Mike.
And I'm Stephen.
And this is F1 Fanatics. Welcome back to another race preview. It is the third and final leg of our second triple header of the season. We've been at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone for the past 2 weekends, with obviously the first named the British Grand Prix and the second the 70th anniversary Grand Prix. And now we head over to Spain, to the Circuit de Catalunya for the Spanish Grand Prix. Are you excited?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully it'll be a good race, because Spain sometimes...
Spain is notoriously a little bit of a snooze fest just because all the teams do testing there. So then they have really good data there, and then it isn't necessarily too unpredictable. Although, you know, within Grand Prix, unpredictable stuff can happen. But last weekend we saw some really hot temperatures in the UK, and they used a softer compound. And obviously we saw chaos, and Max Verstappen gained his first win of the 2020 season. Now, temperatures are meant to be as hot in Spain this weekend, but they are back onto the harder compound. Whether it will cause any issues, yet to be seen. I'm thinking kind of that. But Spain in the heat is something we don't usually see, because it comes early in the season in April and go from there. And just to confirm, me and Stephen don't kind of dislike each other. Oscar was deciding he wanted to start the recording, but he's now decided, I've had enough of this F1 nonsense, I'm off. But for a race preview, if you haven't watched a race preview here before, you need a reminder of what we do on an F1 Fanatics race preview. So we will start off with the stats, our new kind of feature from the past 2 weeks, with Jonty providing the stats for us. Then we will go into Mike's Amateur Lap. After Haley's commentary last week, it is a return to me commentating on the lap this week. After that, we will do our top 5 buzz review of last year's race. Then we'll look ahead to this weekend's action before rounding off the preview with our 3 bold predictions.
Oh yeah.
And they're always fun, so make sure you stick around for that. And if you're new around here, haven't done so already, and you like what we do on the channel, please, if you would subscribe, we'd much appreciate it there. Click down there. But we'll get started into the preview. We'll start off with those stats from Jonty. So here we go. Stat 1. Only 2 Spanish drivers have their home race. Have won their home race. Fernando Alonso and Carlos de Salamanca way back in 1913. But an interesting one on that front is obviously Fernando Alonso before that in 2012 had won the Spanish Grand Prix, but it wasn't the Spanish Grand Prix because it was the European Grand Prix held at Valencia. So he won the European Grand Prix in Spain before he won the Spanish Grand Prix.
Number 2, the first Spanish Grand Prix was held in 1913 near Madrid.
3, it's Spain. Of course we're going to get some Fernando stats in there. Fernando Alonso also won the 2013 Spanish Grand Prix 100 years after the first GP was won by compatriot Carlos de Salamanca. So nicely kind of tying in. 1 and 3, that's for sure.
1 and 2, because Carlos Salamanca won the first Spanish Grand Prix.
2013, 1913, maybe in a couple of years in 2023, Fernando Alonso wins the Spanish Grand Prix on the way to winning a title with Renault.
Moving on.
Okay.
Number 4, the first World Championship Spanish Grand Prix was held in 1951 at the Pedralbes Street Circuit near Barcelona. The
first Spanish GP held at Jerez produced one of the closest finishes in F1 history, with Senna beating Mansell by 0.014 of a second. It should be noted that they moved the timing line further up the grid, which meant that Mansell would have passed Senna if the line was kept in the same place. Oh, dramatic, certainly on that front. And Jerez does obviously, lend itself to drama, because in the 1997 title decider, obviously Michael Schumacher had that famous incident where he attempted to crash into Jacques Villeneuve to derail him from winning the title, but Jacques was okay, Michael wasn't, and Jacques went on to win his first and only world title with Williams. And in the sport in general, I suppose.
Bit some extra F1 knowledge in there. Number 6, the first Grand Prix at the Catalunya was held in 1991 and once again was the place of a now iconic duel between Mansell and Senna going down the pit straight, 2 inches apart at 190 miles per hour in damp conditions.
It always is a classic, and whenever you kind of get those kind of classic clips from the 80s or 90s, Senna and Mansell are kind of main features of it, whether that's against each other or kind of doing crazy things against other drivers. They obviously were 2 drivers who loved living on the edge of things. Number 7, Joker Gerhard Berger got more than he bargained for at the 91 GP when he was trying to trip Nigel Mansell up on his bad leg. The Brit wasn't amused and ended up thumping Berger. So, This is a nice little F1 crossover between boxing and F1. It looks like fight night's back, Stephen.
Oh yeah! Number 8, the last victory for the Williams team was at the 2012 Spanish Grand Prix by none other than Pastor Maldonado.
Obviously beating Fernando Alonso in that race on genuine pace, and it was the confusing element of Pastor Maldonado that he actually on some days showed that he was genuinely quick and a competitive driver, and on other days he decided that cars were a crash test.
Exactly.
9. Max Verstappen won his first race for Red Bull at the 2016 race, making him the youngest race winner in history. Massively impressive from the young Dutchman. Obviously, it came as a consequence of the 2 Mercedes clashing with each other.
And finally, number 10, Michael Schumacher was undefeated at Barcelona from 2001 to 2004. Lewis Hamilton can match Schumacher's 4 in a row this weekend.
Wow. Mercedes have traditionally been very strong at the Circuit de Catalunya in recent times. Obviously, dominant sport, has F1 testing there. They're probably going to do quite well there. But, it's something, exciting. Like we said, temperatures may come into play. We'll save that bit for the preview. But now, what better way to learn a track than to have a virtual lap of the track? And I'm back with Mike's Amateur Lap, and we are in the McLaren with Carlos Sainz, the only Spaniard on the grid. So why not, kind of bring out the patriotic thing for Carlos Sainz to drive around the circuits at Barcelona. Enjoy! Welcome back to Mike's Amateur Lap, and we are at the Circuit de Catalunya. Obviously last week we had Haley's commentary, certainly something a little bit different, but I am back in the commentary box as things stand. It was a great run into turn 1 last year, and here we go into turn 1, and then we start ascending up the hill, and then obviously this first section round, the long turn of turn 3 is where Grosjean lost it and was dangerous in 2018 at the Spanish Grand Prix. And turn 4 here is where Kvyat went round the outside of Kimi Räikkönen last year. It is an interesting part of the track, and then into the descending left-hander. A little bit of a lock-up going into that corner there before we go into the turn of 6. Up into the ascending corners of turn 7 and 8, and then at the top of the hill we have turn 9 and into the first DRS zone of the lap. Then it is a long straight into turn 10, going around very heavy braking zone, very close to the apex there, up into 3, and then 11 and 12 is a slow right-hander accelerating up the hill again. Lots of elevation changes at Circuit de Catalunya. Through 13, down into the tight 14 and 15 chicane. Coming to the end of the lap, turn 16, making sure you're then accelerating out the corner into the second DRS zone, and it is across the line for another Mike's Amateur Lap. Enjoy the rest of the preview. And that is another Mike's Amateur Lap. Some fast bits, some lock-up bits, probably not that quick bits, but it's there. It's another amateur lap, and I hope you've enjoyed your kind of little tutorial trip of the Circuit de Catalunya.
Tutorial trip.
The tutorial trip. Shows
this is
you
how you should drive.
Yes, absolutely. This is how you should drive.
Yes, we're rebranding it as masterclasses with Michael.
Yes.
It's no longer amateur laps. This
No,
is
pro
masterclass
laps.
tutorials.
Oh yeah. No. But anyway, enough of Mike's amateur lap. We go and look back at the 2019 season race, and we're going to give you our top 5 moments from last year's race. So starting off with number 1, Stephen.
You want me to get started?
I do.
Well, it features a lot in my bold predictions. It was a cracking first start to the race and first corner. No crashes. No contact, that's the word I was thinking of. But Lewis immediately went side by side with Bottas, and then Sebastian Vettel was also coming on the outside. Fortunately, he locked up, so he couldn't maintain it. But it was so close. You had Leclerc coming down the inside, the 2 Red Bulls charging in there. Then the Hasses out of nowhere were flying amongst the lot of them as well.
It was at that first part of the season last year where Haas were all right, but we'll bring on to another point in there. But it was certainly an exciting one. Bottas got squirrely, didn't he, midway in between turn 1 and 2 on that. But yes, it was an exciting start to the race. Point number 2, Ferrari. Struggled when Charles Leclerc was quicker than Vettel earlier in the stint. Struggled to let Leclerc pass Vettel, and then when Vettel was on fresher compounds and they should have just let him back to kind of charge and make the most of those tyres, they struggled to find the right opportunity to get Charles Leclerc out the way, and it's Ferrari, isn't it?
Ferrari
Nothing
strategy.
goes smoothly.
Yeah, it was a car crash. But number 3, safety car!
Cars actually did crash.
Yes, cars did crash.
They did.
Actually, it was on corner 1, wasn't it? Turn 1. But
Yes.
not of the race, just of a lap. Lando Norris and Lance Stroll into turn 1, side by side. Norris saw a gap going round the left of turn 2. Stroll left no room, contact, both out the race. Safety car. Then safety car went round a few laps. Everyone's doing the side action. Bam! Restart. Everyone's flying forward. The Hasses are back. They're back fighting Red Bulls again. Mental restart.
It was a really good restart. Obviously, the Mercedes seemed to get away unscathed, but the Ferraris and the Red Bulls fine, and it's exciting to see Haas up. And that moves round to point 4 is because Haas were actually good in this race, and it was also the start of, Gunter Steiner getting frustrated with the 2 drivers. They had to have a team meeting after the race because, they came together quite a few times or were racing each other very hard, pushing Romain Grosjean wide, and they could have just consolidated and held position for the points, but actually Romain Grosjean dropped back a couple of places. And yes, it wasn't, although they were up, it would prove a very difficult season for Haas in the end, and they could have capitalised on more points in this race.
Yeah.
That is for sure.
And obviously Grosjean as well did not like turn 2, clearly.
No.
Took the escape road about 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Just wasn't having any of it.
Magnussen said no, Grosjean said fine, I'm going over the escape road.
He even took Carlos Sainz, I think, taking the escape road, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah. No, absolutely. He just kind of kept dropping back without kind of failing to do it. But with the last point of the last year's race,
Mercedes dominance. Yep, they were dominating. The 1-2, Bottas couldn't convert his pole, but it's a 1-2 for Mercedes. Weren't challenged at all. Meh.
They were just smashing it.
Yep.
Yeah, it was that period of the first start of the year that they just absolutely flew. I think they won every race, didn't they, for the first 8 rounds, I want to say, or maybe first 7 rounds in terms of it. But yes, Mercedes were just so dominant, and circuit to Catalunya, it wasn't really any surprise.
No.
Although Ferrari had been quicker in testing that year, but how Mercedes had come out the blocks, it wasn't really a surprise whatsoever. Fast forward 12 months and we're looking at this year's race in the preview, and not really much has changed other than Mercedes have increased their advantage over the rest of the field. But looking ahead to this weekend, will it be plain sailing? Mercedes again looks like they struggle in higher temperatures with their car. Last year it was cooling issues. This year it's trouble with the tyres. Obviously having the tyres bursting in the first race at Silverstone, and in the second race having massive tyre blisters going on. And will it be plain sailing for Mercedes?
It's a difficult one to tell. It doesn't look like the most reliable car this year, especially with the tyres. There could be an opportunity, even though it's a stronghold for Mercedes. But hotter conditions, they'll have the harder tyres to fall back on. But hopefully it won't be as plain sailing as last year.
No, although what we have to say with this one is Mercedes are notorious as the team that bounce back. And I suppose, you could say they didn't bounce back in Silverstone.
No.
But I'd be surprised if they weren't more on top of these issues going into Spain, and they would have planned for these higher temperatures probably in Spain when the calendar got announced. But who knows? But that probably leaves us on to the second driver in the preview, and that is Max Verstappen, fresh off his first win of the season. Before that, 2 P2s and a P3, and a 1 retirement at the start of the season. Max Verstappen will definitely be wanting to pile the pressure on Mercedes this weekend. And if Red Bull can somehow find a way to win this weekend with Max, could make the championship a bit more interesting.
Yeah, and if Lewis retires.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely an opportunity. They're going to have to need some luck, because the car performance still isn't there with Mercedes. They're going to need Mercedes to mess up with the tyres again. They're going to have to hope an alternative strategy is the best strategy. But if anyone can capitalise on a Mercedes off day, it's Max Verstappen. So
yeah, arguably the form driver of the season so far. Lewis has been brilliant, but so has Max, and so has drivers like Leclerc and Gasly as well. But yeah, no, Max really has been brilliant so far, and it'll be interesting to see what he can do ahead of this weekend. We'll get onto our podium predictions, but it'd be fascinating to see. But the rest of the midfield, that is where things get interesting. Silverstone brought up some very different results. Racing Point looked like they struggled. Obviously, only one car started in the British Grand Prix, and then Renault's, McLaren's, and the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc looks like it had kind of taken an advantage step forward. But then the second weekend, Racing Points looked stronger again. Renault had the mistakes. McLaren's pace was nowhere. And Charles again with a great performance.
Yeah.
So probably, what we're going to see is the top three of Mercedes and Max Verstappen in some sort of fight. Then Charles Leclerc. And then it will be Albon, the Renaults, McLaren's and Racing Points in some sort of order.
yeah, and it's very difficult to tell, because the last two races have been so many opposites, so many contrasts from week to week, even though it's the same track. It was hotter conditions, softer tyres, but was it the hotter conditions that was causing the struggles? Was it softer tyres? Will McLaren race pace return for Spain? Will Ricciardo not spin? That midfield is so unpredictable at the moment. And like you said, it's going to be Mercedes, Max Verstappen, Leclerc, because he's racing the head of that Ferrari, Albon, and then the rest.
And I think it is genuinely exciting to say, and obviously you have to put Pierre Gasly in that mix as well, certainly, and go from there. And it's genuinely so exciting. Every race, I think to see what's going to happen in those battles is really exciting, actually. And the constructors for third downwards is really exciting battle to kind of see where that's going to play out and, you know, how that's all going to unfold. That's for sure. Will Checo be back this weekend? That will certainly be interesting. Or will Nico Hulkenberg get a in theory a third race in a row, but a second race start in a row on his kind of covering for Checo? That will be interesting on there. And if Checo comes back, how will he be? He's had 2 races off. Will he have got a little bit cold, or will he be straight back on it? He's an unknown variable coming into the weekend, isn't he?
Yeah. Although I think if Checo is back, he should get up to speed quite quickly. Yeah.
It shouldn't be too badly
No.
on that front. Not as bad as Nico Hulkenberg, that's for sure. And then the Hasses, Alfa Romeos and Williams, I guess it's just they'll be at the back, but in what order, we're not really sure. I think it's probably the fair one. I'm not entirely sure how it all fit together.
Yeah. Will they have fixed Kevin Magnussen's car by now? Will we actually have a race without problems?
Will Williams be more competitive again, or will they be just at the back of the field and show good qualifying pace again?
Will Kimi quit mid-weekend?
Will Kimi be last, or will Kimi be best of that kind of group of drivers? It depends really what kind Kimi Raikkonen turns up the circuit. But again, there's so much other than the top. But obviously, you know, if Mercedes do have an unreliable car and Max can keep pushing it, then we've got unpredictability everywhere across the field, and that's what we want. And I think a lot of people tend to look at Spain in the calendar and go, no, it's a Grand Prix.
Yeah.
In terms of that, this year, hopefully, I feel like more people are looking forward to it.
Yeah.
There's a bit more of an unpredictable element.
After the last 2 races, especially last race. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm going to put you on the spot, Stephen. Podium predictions.
Podium predictions. I'll back Max again. I'm going for a Mercedes era. Going for Max, Bottas, Daniel Ricciardo.
Nice. I again am going for an unpredictable podium, just to lead us nicely into the bold predictions. Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc.
Charles Leclerc gets on the podium again.
Yeah, I just can't see if there's someone taking advantage of one of Max or one of the Mercedes not finishing the race. I think it's Charles Leclerc at the moment. He just seems to find a way.
You're saying Bottas is out somewhere, and I'm saying Lewis is out somewhere.
Oh, well, will either of us be right, or will it just be Lewis Hamilton 1, Valtteri Bottas 2, and Max 3? It could easily end up being that. But anyway, we move on to our bold predictions. So, Stephen, do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
I can start.
You're starting.
My classic first corner incident. This time, Checo is back. He is a bit rusty, but qualifies really well. Qualifies in like 6th. But he has a great start, great off the line, but he's a bit rusty into turn 1 and takes out Lewis, Bottas, and Albon.
Okay.
And Max wins.
This is carnage. What is going on right now?
He like dives on the inside, and everyone's like, you know, leaving space, and he just goes bam,
bam, just pole drives through.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a bit rusty, so he forgets there's a turn there.
I see.
He's like, I thought it was more,
but no,
you know.
It's not more.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we've got that. My first bold prediction is I'm going to stick with kind of supporting the home guys and the home races. So I'm going to back Carlos Sainz to get a podium this weekend with McLaren. Had a bit of, like we said in the Race Review podcast, he's having a stuttering season so far. Probably, you know, as far as to say a disappointing season so far for Carlos Sainz. So in his home Grand Prix, with some new merch on the McLaren store, he's going to make full use of that, the chili, and get himself on the podium again. First time since Brazil.
Oh, yeah. Second bold prediction. I want to do something with the temperature, but I just don't see any more tyre blowouts. But I kind of want to say we're going to get 5 tyre blowouts during the race. Bam.
That is crazy.
I'm not going to target anyone.
That is bold.
So I'm going to say it's like Lewis, Bottas. I'm targeting Mercedes a lot. It's what you need to target for a good race at the moment.
It's sad that this is a bold prediction.
Yeah.
But I'm going to make my second bold prediction. Sebastian Vettel to beat Charles Leclerc in the race. To finish ahead of Charles Leclerc if both cars finish. Obviously, if Charles Leclerc DNFs, then this bold prediction is null and void. Because both cars have to finish and Vettel has to beat Leclerc on merit.
Some serious conditions going into this one.
Well, look, we've got to put some serious terms and conditions on things now.
Jeez, Sebastian Vettel to beat Leclerc is a bold prediction. Oof.
It's got that bad.
Oof.
It has got that bad.
Yeah. My final bold prediction. Haas's had a great time last year out. They're going to magically return to form in Spain. And one of them's going to qualify for Q3, Kevin Magnussen. And he's going to have a great start fighting Alex Albon. And there's going to be contact again.
Nice. I like it.
Maybe not contact.
Now,
it's going to be fine.
My third bold prediction. There is going to be a really tight fight going all the way to the end. And all the way through the last corner. And it's going to be Lewis and Max going wheel to wheel fighting. And then just out of the last corner, one of them goes, I've got to pick one, haven't I? And I feel bad saying Lewis, but I'm going to say Lewis spins round. He crosses the line backwards, and Max Verstappen wins by he wins by 100th of a second. Very specifics.
Whilst Lewis is reversing.
Yes. Lewis has to quickly put his car into reverse just to make sure he finishes and gets across the line in P2.
It's a photo finish, but rather than looking at the 2 front wings, it's the front wing and the rear wing.
And that's actually what gives Max Verstappen the advantage.
Because of the nose.
Because of the nose. What a bold prediction! This is the stuff you love to see in F1, everyone. Stephen's broken. I've broken him. He can't hack it. He can't stand the heat. Get out of the UK.
Okay, bye.
No, can't, because then when you come back, it's a 14-day quarantine. Anyway, right, that's it. That's another race preview. We hope you guys have enjoyed it and looking forward to the action as always. Of course, over the weekend, we will be keeping you kind of more live up to date with things, as obviously the F1 Weekly News Show live stream will be out tomorrow around lunchtime. Then we will be doing our live streams after qualifying, after the race, and hopefully, we have another couple of great sessions because qualifying and the race was both great last weekend. So hopefully Spain can continue that momentum in this F1 season and hope there's variety and intrigue across the whole of the grid this weekend. But we hope you enjoyed. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Bold predictions, podium predictions. We'd love to hear them, guys. And if you're new around here or haven't done so already, I said at the start of the video, but Stephen, what should they do?
They can like, they can subscribe, and they can ding that bell.
Ding that bell. Yes, look at that finger action. That's going crazy.
Bam.
Mental. Anyway, that is it from us today, guys. We hope you've enjoyed the race preview. So for now, you F1 fans, keep racing.